Hey, landlords, this is Eric here with the Rent Prep for Landlords podcast. And this week, we're actually going to be piggybacking off of a subject from last week. So if you listen to last week's podcast, we had talked about how to onboard a new tenant. And one of the subjects we were talking about was creating a leave on for landlord account with your utilities. So setting up to make sure that your electric, your gas, and those things that you have an account that's specifically for a landlord so that you don't see a lapse in service. So what we're going to do is we're going to run the intro music here in a second just because I love listening to it. And then we're going to talk about this in more detail. And I'm actually going to make a call and see if I can get some information from somebody at the local company here to me in Buffalo, New York. All right, take it away.
Welcome to the Rent Prep for Landlords podcast. And now your hosts, Stephen White and Eric Worrell.
I was calling about, do you guys do leave on for landlord accounts for like
Yes.
rental properties?
Yes, we do.
How does that work exactly?
Well, we would send you an application out, and you would fill it out and then return it to us. You would put on there what properties that you want left on for landlord.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime a tenant moves out, gives us a call and disconnects their service, it would automatically go back into your name.
Okay.
The only time it would not go into your name is if your tenant was disconnected for non-payment.
Okay. If that were to happen, am I notified if they disconnect for
No, you are not notified.
So in that instance, because like what I'm worried about is like if there's electric heat or something like that, like what happens if it's wintertime? Do I just need to make sure that I'm on top of the tenant and I know if they're paying their bill then, or?
Well, there might be a clause on that. I'm not really sure. Do you have a minute? I can put you over to customer service and they can answer that part of it for you.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm not sure about how they handle that in the wintertime. I do understand what you're saying, but
Okay.
let me get you over there and they can fully give you all the information, okay?
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for calling National Grid. Please hold.
Thank you for calling National Grid. My name is Tim. How can I help you today?
Hi, Tim. I was just calling. I just had some questions about your leave on for landlord program.
Okay, yeah, I can help you with that.
Yeah, how?
Good question.
Yeah, like how exactly does it work? I mean, I get the gist of it. Basically, when my tenant utilities are up and they've stopped paying because they're moving out, it'll automatically be moved over to me.
Exactly. There's just a standing order that if there's ever a disconnect, to create a matching connect for you. So we never send anyone out and actually physically turn it off.
Okay.
Certain circumstances, we will still shut it off. Like a customer doesn't pay and we're cutting them out, we'll still go out and turn off the power until they disconnect. At which point we'll come back and turn it back on in your name. But for the most part, yeah, it just won't ever go off. The one abuse I've seen is tenants who know that exists and who take it out of their name and then have the landlord pay for a while and then skip on that or something. So it can be abused. So just be aware of that as well.
Okay. What would I do to like protect myself from like an abusive tenant who's just trying to have me pay their utilities for a little bit?
I'm trying to think of what the quickest notification is. You're going to get a notification if it goes in your name 1 month after it's in your name when we generate a bill, or 15 days after, whatever the billing period ends up being. But it's hard to know exactly when it goes into your name without you being like vigilant. An online account wouldn't automatically show all of your accounts unless they're added. Yeah, it's tough. That's why I warn you with tenants. Generally, tenants don't know, but
Yeah.
if one has experience or something, a lot of times, or like a lot of tenants will try to put it in someone's name and then like go through positive ID stuff where they don't get it in their name right away. So they experience where we're like, oh yeah, it's in your landlord's name. They put it in their name for a while, or like they can get that information too. So it's just, if you have some wily tenants, it is something to be aware of.
If I set this up and I get new tenants in, is that something where I can just call you guys to verify that day that this has been transitioned to them? Because I think what I would do is I'd have them set it up.
That's what I see. Like a lot of property management companies are exactly like this. They have leave on for landlords for 80 buildings, and that's what they won't give their tenants the keys until the tenants have a new account number. The tenants even could call and ask to put an account in their name, and then we'll give them a pending account number, but they could still be held for something that would stop the connect from going through. So they want to see an active account, billing and stuff is what I see large property management things do to protect themselves. But same type of thing, sometimes you see people move out or take it out of their name early, and they don't catch it for months, especially with larger corporations. But that's what I see.
Okay. So if I did have a concern with a tenant, say like I know that they're being evicted, is it something that I could call like maybe like once a week or every few weeks and just be like, hey, I just wanted to make sure that this account was still in the tenant's name and not switched over to me? Okay.
Yeah. So we could always tell you, you coming in, we can verify with you. If it's in it's going to put it under your name and phone number, so even the automatic system seeing you call is going to say, hey, you have 3 accounts in your name, and if that's not what you expect, you're going to know right away something's going to be up.
Okay. And if I have multiple like rental properties, is this like all billed on one bill each month, or how does that work?
It won't be one bill. They'll be separate for each property.
Okay.
And different areas have different billing due dates and read dates, so it very rarely do they all come at the same time.
Okay.
So yeah, just be aware of that.
And then I'm just kind of reading, you guys have like a form online. Just wanted to make sure I understand everything. So you guys do like some sort of credit review on me before you would set something like this up?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they do that. I know you have to fill out the form and send it in, but I see it get processed the same day, so I don't necessarily think it's credit reviewed or anything. We run you as a customer, I'm sure, to make sure that you're a decent customer, but other than that, it's just notating accounts.
Have you seen any issues that are common for landlords besides like the one you mentioned about as far as like a tenant like pulling their utilities and putting it in their name? Is there anything else?
The primary thing I talk to people about is when they sell the building and then forget to take the leave on for landlord off. And a lot of times a new owner puts it in their name for years, so no one even like remembers the leave on for landlord is there, and then that new owner sells the building too, and then it goes into 2 owners ago's name. And, they throw a fit, but you have to fill out the leave on for landlord deletion form when you don't want that to exist anymore. A lot of people call us and say, I'm selling the building, please disconnect me. We'll disconnect them, and then it automatically reconnects because they're still the landlord.
Okay.
So you have to fill out that deletion form. It supersedes any order we do.
Okay. And then is the easiest way just to kind of do the online form or to mail something in, you think? Either way. The form is, if you ask me for stuff, I'm just going to send you the form. So okay.
If you fill that out, that's exactly what we need. That packet has both the creation form and the deletion form.
Okay. Would you be willing to send me that then?
Yeah. Let's see.
All right. Very cool. All right. I appreciate it. You've been super helpful.
Yeah, I'm glad to help. Thanks for calling National Grid.
Yeah, well, quick question. If I had to call back is there like a quick way to get through to talk to a customer?
I hear people say just hit 4 all the way through. I've never tried it, but I hear other customer service reps tell people that.
Okay, very cool.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for calling National Grid.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
So I definitely just learned some things right there. Probably the most important thing is the fact that if you do have a leave on for landlord account set up in your utilities, is that you want to make sure that you delete that account when you sell the property or it transitions to somebody else's name. Because obviously if you end up paying somebody else's utilities for 6 months, that's not going to be a fun situation. But for the most part, it sounds like a pretty simple program. I don't love the fact that you can't get a notification as soon as the tenant's utilities get shut off. Because if your tenant stops paying their bills and it automatically transitions to you in the middle of winter and they jack up the electric or the gas or whatever kind of account you have set up, that can be a little troublesome. So if you think you have a tenant that might be a little problematic, it might be worth maybe making a phone call once a week in that situation. Or if you're doing a cash for keys scenario or you're going through an eviction, just call and just make sure you're confirming that you still have the same amount of accounts for your leave on for landlord that are active, and make sure that one hasn't transitioned back to you and from the tenant, because then you'd want to get that taken care of right away. So this will definitely be something that I'm setting up for my rentals, which I haven't done in the past, especially coming into the winter season here. I'm going to get my electric and gas put into a leave on for landlord account so that if there was a lapse for whatever reason, that I don't have to worry about pipes freezing over, or, the nice thing that Andrew Schultz, the property manager here that we talked to on the podcast, said is it's also nice if the utilities get shut off, that if you're trying to turn a rental over quickly, sometimes it can take a few days to get the utilities back on. So when that rental has, they've left, those renters have left, you can immediately come in and there's electric. So you can run your tools and you can do, you can put the lights on and you can make sure that everything's up to par, and it'll cost you a few extra bucks, but it's probably worth it to be able to turn a rental around quicker and have everything, easy and accessible for you. And you don't have to deal with the headaches of getting utilities switched over every single time you have a unit that, a tenant leaves. So hopefully you've learned something in this episode, and we look forward to chatting next week. Hopefully have Steve here on a podcast soon, as we're kind of both getting back in the office and on a similar work schedule. So thank you for listening. And if you do like this podcast, take some time. You can leave us a review. We actually had Vlad from Rochester, New York. He didn't leave us a review quite yet that I saw, but he reached out to us on our Facebook page and just told us how much he loves the podcast. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate hearing that kind of feedback. It's so helpful to hear from landlords and property managers that listen to the podcast. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. You can connect with us in the Facebook group, Rent Prep for Landlords. And leave us a review on any way that you listen to your podcast. And we'd love to read your reviews here on some future podcast episodes. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.